Alex Michael, that's me. I'm here from SonicWall, so I've been with SonicWall for about 5 years. Prior to that, I was a security engineer, networking mostly, lots of different verticals. Happy to talk to you about it. I'm not going to do it here, I'll bore the life out of you. But I've seen a lot of things, and the guys have asked me to come and talk about, specifically, empowering end users, since, interestingly, we have a lot of solutions to protect against network attacks and so on, but at the end of the day, it's down to us. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that, and then yeah. So specifically, insider threats. Who knows what insider threats are? Yeah, okay. I'm going to do that. I'm going to throw questions out. So if there's no hands raised, I will be picking. I'm not going to pick on you. I haven't got the microphone. It's fine. So so what are the insider threats? Okay. An insider threat is a malicious threat to an organization that comes from the people within the organization, okay? I mean, that sounds pretty straightforward. The issue I find, and this has certainly been on my travels, whether it's with SonicWall or with, with other organizations, is that we take these things for granted. We just assume that these things are okay. Okay, so the threat may involve fraud, a theft or infiltration, or sabotage, and it all sounds rather scary. One of the first things I'll say about that is that there was a period of time when in my career when I was doing a lot of contracting, and I would turn up, I'd have a few months, and I'd have to stamp my ground, leave my mark, as it were. We'd have all these conversations. I would say, you know what, this can happen. Someone might come and sabotage this, or someone might steal this information. And the look I used to get in these meetings, just day one, I'll be sat there. Maybe I had a bit more hair back then, and they'll be, well, no, that just doesn't happen. And that's it. It's naivety. And then I can almost guarantee that within a couple of days, I'm flagging some reports, and I'm going to show you some stuff that we do at SonicWall later on with reporting and management. And I'll show you this stuff. Says, oh, well, there you go. There's conclusive proof that someone has compromised your solution. And it's right there. So it's a very reactive piece of our thought process. We don't feel like it's important until we've been hit by it. And unfortunately, it's not the way to be. Maybe you've got stories, and I certainly shudder about them if I could name them all. But anyway, moving on. So who are the insider threats? I think who is the question? Well, first of all, you've got the malicious insiders. Now, maybe you'll be incredulous to this, that it just doesn't happen. But disgruntled employees, we're not all happy workers. I'm not going to ask, I'm not here for a therapy session, so if you're not happy at work, it's not my problem. But invariably, if people aren't happy at work, then they can take action. It's a sort of thing that does happen, and I have seen it. I have seen suspicious firewall rules in firewalls where someone's putting a rule in place. Typically, that's a techie, granted, but it's possible. Business associates. We're all working in partnerships with what it is that you do. They're not all going to be on the straight and narrow. Negligent insiders. This one for me is the one that I see the most. Okay, lazy practices. I've seen the best engineers forget to do some key parts, and I'm going to talk about processes later on. But forgetting to document certain things, forgetting to lock down firewall rules, forgetting to install that all-important security policy. It's something that I see more often than not. I've anecdotally, I've sat there with techies that I've been out there to help. Who's done this? Just not to apportion blame or anything like that, but just who does this so we can unpick it, so we can get to the bottom of it. No answer. No one either don't remember or they're not owning up to it. It's more common than I could have possibly imagined. Employees in a hurry. I used to look after a team of around 15 engineers, and I learned fairly rapidly that any of those support tickets that those engineers looked after on a Friday afternoon had to be double-checked. I just saw a knowing nod there. Never trust those changes, those network changes done on a Friday afternoon. They were either made drunk, if you like a drink, or they were done in a hurry because, quite frankly, they want to go dead on 5 o'clock. Okay, so yeah, I have seen some support tickets just slip through the net because it was a Friday afternoon. Yeah, it's unacceptable, especially when it's people's information at risk, vulnerable even. Having a bad day. I'm probably not going to give you the full details, but I have, in my career, clicked on a link that I shouldn't have. Nothing as dramatic as ransomware. We're going back a while, but it does happen. Everyone has a bad day. All right, and I already alluded to that. I did some contracting, Sometimes contractors come in to do a piece of work, they want to get in, they want to get their money, they want to get out. Yeah, it does happen. Yeah, you want to be able to trust these guys or girls that are coming in to do this stuff. You know, it's just due diligence. Just keep an eye on what's happening. It's just audit. That word comes up later on again. I mean, one thing about this presentation, I do it in different sort of, with different, variety for other people. And I feel like I'm stating the obvious. But I always feel that I have to keep bringing up the obvious stuff. So I always expect to see rolling eyes in the audience about this stuff. But honestly, we have to keep drilling it into our head, these things that we have to worry about. Infiltrators, ex-employees. I love this one, because I have an actual story to tell about it. So one particular place I did a contract, I was covering for a guy who was leaving. He was moving abroad. So I was brought in, and they said, oh, your job will be easy. Just keep an eye on this until we get someone full-time. It's all right. Brilliant, got there, put my feet up. I liked the commute, it was okay. The canteen was very nice. Anyway, within a day of looking, just doing that general sort of audit and that health check thing, I saw on a firewall that there were several security rules discreetly hidden, allowing access from a home user. Anyway, I just thought that shouldn't be there. Let's disable that. Turns out that this guy who used to work there, who'd left, had put in a few back doors, and they actually had a conversation with him because he hadn't been gone long. Turns out he was like, oh, well, just in case you needed my help after I left, I wanted to be able to, do that. No, you're right, pal. Block, 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 delete. You're gone. I mean, you have to assume the worst. You have to. You really do. I also put here hackers acquiring access, data's vulnerability. So just on that donut piece, it's relevant to that. I've got a slide on social engineering. A lot of you guys, maybe you've arranged penetration testing for your network. It's not something that we do in particular. I think the guys at ProBrand do penetration. Yes, we do. Got a nod there. Penetration testing, great, do it. Important, but you can choose what level you do it. And one of them is social engineering. And you'll be surprised how often people take advantage of those vulnerabilities. Okay. What's this fancy screen I hear you saying? Okay. I'm not going to come up here and do my chat without a little flag waving for SonicWall. This is SonicWall risk meters. Looks very fancy, I'm sure. So you've all got access, whether you're a SonicWall customer or not, you have access to risk meters right now. It's more useful if you're a SonicWall customer, but there's a relevance to me bringing this up. If you can see the layers there, those are different types of technology that protects your network. That's your network on the far left there, the little building. Okay, so if all of those layers are different solutions in place that are active, and all of those little icons there with the arrows, those are threats to your solution, to your network. And as you can see, each one of those layers is stopping those solutions. So what I'll commonly hear if I have a chat with you later on is, oh, okay, I've got a firewall, that's fine. Or in the olden days, if you go right back, it's okay, I've got an antivirus on my laptop, we don't need anything else. Okay, that's all well and good. I mean, this thing hasn't got a laser, so I'm going to have to do my best. So if you look at this far layer here, that's our endpoint layer. Yeah, and those are the threats we're stopping there. And I've put one example up here, which is malware. And that malware is being stopped by the firewall. Great. It's not the only thing that stops malware, though. Your endpoint stops malware. Your email security stops malware. Your application security stops malware. Do not rely on one layer. So I love this. Yeah? And if you're a SonicWall customer and you have some solutions with us, preferably all of them, that will make certain people happy at SonicWall, I'm sure. But if you have all of them, then when we can tell you, so you'll fire up your risk meters and you can see what is active and what's protecting you. That peace of mind. Because like I say, if that insider employee who's having a bad day has disabled the firewall rule here, yeah? Some of those little arrows are going to zoom all the way to the center and no one's going to know. Especially if you're not reporting, if you're not setting alerts up, okay? And then that's another problem that we have. What's missing from this diagram? Going back to the donut piece, okay? What's the weakest link? We are. Us. You had a gentleman from the police here earlier, I'm sure he alluded to that. We are the weakest link. So you can have all these great solutions in place, but you have to accommodate for that weakest link, yeah? Education, amongst other things. So here we go, let's talk about I'm calling it the donut piece. Now, sorry, my Britney Spears headset is really, anyway, I'll get by. Sorry if the volume's a bit rubbish. Social engineering. Chivalry, who opens doors for people coming in behind them? Where are the gentlemen and the gentlewomen in this audience? Always do it. You don't bat an eyelid, okay? You think you're being polite. Someone walks in, imagine the idea of going through a door, then slamming it shut on someone behind you because they haven't done their swipe card. It's a big problem. We talked about the penetration testing. Depending on what level you pay for, you could have a, I don't know what they call it these days, but you could have a social engineering level where people will come and try to exploit those vulnerabilities. Tailgating, see if they can get into your building, just by someone swiping their card. One of the places I used to work to, the IT lab, the comms room with all the racks and all of their infrastructure, fairly big company, 1,000 users. So I'm sat down, if you can imagine, here in this little environment with my colleagues, and there's a door right behind us leading into a noisy, worry comms room. So every now and then you see a guy come in with a tool bag, maybe a laptop, walks in, scans his card and walks in there, and everyone's just oblivious. And it's like, are we going to say anything about that? Well, he's got a card. Just accept it. Anyone can get a card. I could be sat at a cafe at lunchtime and have my card, have my lanyard with the swipe card on it, just sat there. Someone take it. You have to question these things. You have to be cynical. You have to be paranoid. Network paranoia is the phrase I like to think that I coined a while ago. No, it hasn't really taken on. Feel free to use it, but you've got to be network paranoid. Locking your laptop. I included this as an afterthought. Again, anecdotally, I was sat down into an office. I hadn't been there before. I was only there for a few days. And the nice young lady next to me, she got my attention and said, I'm locking my laptop, not because I think you're going to steal anything, it's because I have to. And the poor girl, she was almost horrified. I said, no, that's the right thing to do. But the fact that she felt nervous, that she had to tell me that she had to lock her laptop, the alternative to her of her telling me that she had to lock her laptop might have been to not lock her laptop. That's crazy. I've been there a couple of days. She was very worried about it. I mean, there might not be an issue here, but I still see it. I wouldn't even have bothered raising it if I hadn't seen it in the past, and it does happen. All right, phishing. Slight tangent off that. So, I'm sure you've had a few bits about email. Email continues to be the attack vector of choice, specifically for ransomware. Okay. If you come and see us over there at the SonicWall desk, we will tell you about our threat report. I've got some details later on, but phishing seems to be the attack vector of choice. Your default trust level of emails should be very low, impolite if you like. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I've had that sit-down chat with my dad and my mum. They're elderly. They're getting on. They love the online internet banking. My dad spends his days on Facebook trolling whoever will accept it. I need to talk to him about that, but I think it's a lost cause. But anyway, he will call me up and he'll say, oh, Alex, I've got this email. It looked like it was from Apple, but I was sure it wasn't. Well done, Dad. Be extra paranoid. They wanted him to put his credit card details in. Yeah. But, if I hadn't had that conversation with him, and he's a bright guy, or at least he was in his day, he might have fallen foul of that attack. Okay, so what can you do about it? Again, apart from us, the weakest link, being savvy. SonicWall Cloud App Security. Come and have a chat with us. This is something that we've released last week. It comes with all sorts of tools to help to protect your users. On the email phishing side, Cloud App Security will sit in tandem with your Office 365 users, G Suite users in the audience. Yeah, I don't need hands, by the way, so just nodding's fine. I'm not going to expose you. Office 365, G Suite, and a whole bunch of other apps here, like Dropbox. Who uses Dropbox here? You can store files on there. They might be infected. You won't know any different. Yeah? We help you. So the SonicWall CAS solution is an API-based solution that will check your Dropbox account and will scan it for viruses using things like sandboxing. Okay? Again, you've got to consider, it's all well and good you have an antivirus on your perimeter or antivirus on your endpoint. You've got to think of all the cloud type solutions that we're all using. Okay? Amongst other things, as well, you've got account takeover, so maybe someone's trying to brute force your password, the solution will spot that. Have you got anything in place to look for that? Because if you do lose your password, again, and I've got a slide coming up about that, how are you gonna know if someone's got your password or at least thinks they know your password? I mean, we talked about the donut thing earlier. Some of the passwords may have been exposed because of that, maybe. Someone could then take that and with some of those words and then try and log in. Are you gonna know? Are you gonna check the alerts? All right, moving on. Memory sticks and thumb drives. When I arrived here earlier, the first thing I did is I walked around to see who was giving away memory sticks. Annoyingly, no one is. Otherwise, it would have made my job a lot easier. But I mean, if you've been to a lot of these events, and I've been doing it for a while now, there was a time where everyone was falling over themselves to give you a memory stick. Okay? They'd give you a memory stick, and Thirsty's thinking, oh, I wonder how big that is. 2 gig, rubbish, throw it away. 16 gig, great. Put lots of stuff on that. And so you'd go home with a handful of memory sticks, and what do? Well, you're going to check them. You're going to put into your laptop, aren't you? That's the default. All right. You may have remembered this from the news going back from 2010. The Iranian nuclear power program was brought to a standstill, was crippled by the Stuxnet virus. Okay? Now, I put supposedly here because when I was looking into this, and SonicWall did a report on this a while ago, you can find it on our website, supposedly it was delivered by a memory stick. And apparently this was done by a memory stick being left in a car park of one of these facilities. And a user picked it up and went click, and then bang. It propagated itself. Now, it targeted SCADA systems. Those are, I should have put a definition for that, but it's the control mechanism for the centrifuges, things that you typically get at factories, cooling sensors and so on. Okay, and it caused substantial damage. The rumor was that it was the American government and the Israeli government in tandem. Who knows? But, that was very successful. I had a colleague, just to break into another anecdote, my equivalent in Florida, ex-NSA guy, lovely guy. If you go to the SonicWall videos, the knowledge-based videos, you'll see a lot of stuff from this guy. Anyway, what he did before a conference, he just like the donut exercise, I guess, he did a bit of social engineering, bought 200 memory sticks, put on his very own script on them, and then started leaving them around places, coffee shops, car parks, public places, airport lounges, that sort of thing. And then he went to the event that he went to, and then the night before, he fired up his laptop, and the script that he'd embedded into these memory sticks were designed to, once they're connected, to call home to send a message. Little pop-up appeared, said, don't worry, you haven't been hacked, but you shouldn't really have done this. Naughty boy. So he again got this, and he said out of the 200 memory sticks that he lay around, 75 of them called home. If he'd put ransomware onto those 200 memory sticks, 75 people would have wiped out the machines and potentially lateral machines on their network. We all know about the, oh my God, I've forgotten the name now, the NHS, it's going to come to me, I can't believe that's gone black. WannaCry, thank you. I didn't have my headset on, but I heard you, thanks. I went blank for a second. But that traveled laterally on the networks, didn't it? I mean, can you imagine? Just that very simple exercise. It's all well and good to say, no, we've got the best firewall, and we're all stopping this, and that's blocking your perimeter. Someone walks in with a memory stick, into the network, away you go. And because there's overwhelming curiosity. If you haven't got the solution, you can be curious, just make sure you're protected. That could have multiple meanings, don't dwell on that one. So yeah, I was going to ask at this point, who has salvaged an errant memory stick? But I don't think anyone's going to own up to it now, so let's not bother. Okay, now if you are going to look at memory stick contents, why not do it when you're protected with SonicWall Capture Client? So I take, now, I'm pretty fair to say that everyone here is running some form of antivirus on your laptops, on your PCs, of course. Now the question is it up to the task? What happens if those memory sticks that my colleague left around all those car parks, that ransomware that he created, because he was a bright guy, a lot brighter than me, a lot more hair too, let's say all those memory sticks with ransomware that he left all in your networks was something that had never been seen before. Is your endpoint antivirus going to see anything? Because I would argue that the majority of the antiviruses that are being used in this audience by your laptops is signature-based. And if you're using a signature-based antivirus, you are looking for patterns that exist. Yeah? I mean, it's no defense. So you could have something like a SonicWall Capture Client, which is next-generation behavior-based antivirus. So we're not looking at signatures, we're looking at behavior. So a minute that ransomware tries to access your network or do something dodgy, we'll stop it. Okay? You can see there, we're in partnership with the Sentinel-1 engine. Look it up. It's a top right Gartner product. It's got high efficacy. So what we're saying is that we're a non-process scanner, and we're waiting for that attack to happen before we do anything. I mean, you can see the benefits immediately of that. You need to think about the antivirus, and certainly going back to the memory stick piece. If I'm bringing a memory stick into your network, yeah, what do you want? Do you want a signature-based antivirus or a next-gen antivirus? Okay. And it will also do things like evaluate suspicious code, and it will report on your security posture. Let's say you're running the SonicWall Capture Client, a cloud-based solution, by the way, so you can manage it all from a single pane of glass. If you had 50 clients all running it, you could have a look and see all 50 of those clients and who's tried to execute. I mean, we've protected them, but you need to know why. Maybe you want to find out that they did it via a USB stick. Maybe they did it by a download on the website, you know? Very powerful tool. Come and see us after if that's of any interest to you. It also enforces compliance and security, and this is just as important, is the inspection of encrypted traffic. I think a year ago, no, it was definitely a year ago, I did a session here. Quite a big part of that conversation, maybe some of you guys were around, was talking about viruses over encrypted connections. That's definitely a big deal at the moment. And it's a battle that personally I think we're losing, because it becomes more and more difficult to inspect encrypted traffic. Yeah? SonicWall, we have an inspection tool that looks at that and all the rest of it, but you know, at least with the endpoint, you're there right at the end of the cycle when the decryption has happened. You know, rather than trying to deal with the traffic, you know, when it's coming in, it's all sealed, it's encrypted, you have to deploy certificates, wait to the end. Yeah? It's just an idea. Something that we're quite proud of is Capture Advanced Threat Protection. This is our sandboxing ATP that we use. Okay, so what are we doing with sandboxing? And I've got a few products listed at the bottom. We've across the whole portfolio of SonicWall solutions use this. It's got our award-winning, I said that with a grimace, but I don't like doing that. But yeah, it's an award-winning solution, patented RTDMI engine. So what we're doing here is we're taking those files before, and this is on the client as well as our firewalls, as well as other solutions. We're taking that file as it enters your network. If we don't recognize it, we are taking that from you and we're detonating it in a safe environment. Okay, you know, if it's a dodgy exe file, we're double-clicking it in the cloud, and when it starts doing horrible things to our devices, we're then basically coming back to you and say, right, you know what, we've taken the hit, we're going to stop you from looking at this file, don't worry about us, we'll be fine. Yeah, not that we expect your sympathy, but you know, that's it. That's what sandboxing is. But you know, it's a multi-engine sandbox. I'm now going to read this here. And we can give block until verdict, which is also important. Yeah? Your users need to know that we're there, you know, worrying about their protection. Okay. Passwords. This is definitely the stating the obvious one, but it would be remiss of me if I didn't at least bring it up. I'm sure it's come up already. What are the common issues with passwords? Sharing them. What's the common one I used to get? I overheard, again, when I was looking after my team. One of the guys called in, he was on holiday. I forgot to put my out of office. Can you log in and set my out of office? Like, yeah, you know, they're all friends, these guys. Yeah, go ahead, do it. What's your password? It's this, and that. And he's there typing it in. And I'm like, whoa, stop. What just happened? I mean, they're all mates, but you know, okay. I'm rambling. You know, in that case, it was absolutely the wrong thing to do. Obvious passwords, I don't think anything lets you put obvious passwords anymore. Passwords that don't expire, and the one that I see often is that pool laptop that gets allocated with a little sticker on it that says a password on it. You know, and you're walking on the train, and that's in your bag, and you're whipping it out, and it says password 123, whatever. Probably not that, but unbelievable. Two-factor authentication, use it. Get it implemented, make life easier. You know, refer to a token. You know, users don't like that, but it's something you have to do. Are processes in place? One thing I notice is that depending on how high up you are in a company, the less relevant those processes are to you. I've seen CEOs of law firms call down to a support desk and say, quite frankly, I don't care if our email security has blocked that, release it. And then you've got a wet between the ears help desk guy who's not been long at the job saying, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir, and releases that email, and then bang. The true story, by the way, I'm not making that up. A ransomware deployed it, wiped out a few machines before it was spotted, and you know, we had to re-image a whole bunch of machines. It's just, you know, just because I'm important, I don't need this. It's for everyone. It's time consuming. You know, having to go through this stuff, having to change my password every 30 days, it's not. Yeah? There has to be a balance that's found. Okay, so again, only because I've been rambling, I'm going to hurtle through this stuff. Are the policies being adhered to? I've already alluded to that. And are they aware that they're in place? It's all well and good having a document on your internal portal. Is it being read? Could you? I mean, I suspect that all your users won't be able to regurgitate everything that's within them, you know, en masse. But how are you auditing these things? Set some expectations. Yes, we're using Sandbox, and what that might appear to you is it might take a little bit longer to download a file because we are detonating those files in the cloud. If the users don't know about that, their experience has changed. Okay. And you know, they have to know that this stuff is going to take a little bit longer. Security versus speed. Okay, layer of security. So we went to that when I showed you that that risk meters diagram. Firewalls. Email security, are you using one of those? Cloud application security, endpoint protection, sandboxing, SonicWall ATV, secure remote access. You know, all those are well and good, but if you're letting people in with just a remote desktop, I'm sorry, I keep looking at you guys because you keep smiling, but because you know it, you've seen it. If someone is RDPing straight into a server, all of those things, those very expensive solutions at the top will not matter one bit because someone opened a remote desktop connection to a box inside your network. I see it more often than you can imagine. All right, encryption, secure and encrypted traffic. It's great if you can encrypt your traffic, but inspecting it, that's where the challenge is at, as I've already alluded to. Increase the visibility of your solutions. Do not let your configurations stagnate. Firewalls are for life, not just for Christmas. Don't just configure it and then never see it again. Check those rules. If I had a penny for every any firewall, I mean, this is a niche joke here, but if you had a penny for every any firewall policy that I've seen on a firewall, I'd have some money. But, you know, it does happen. People think that the firewall does not need changing once it's been deployed. Do not fall down that trap. TLC, it really does. And that's the way you do it. You report it. Have a reporting solution. Most security, whether it's SonicWall or not, most of your devices will have the means to report on these things. I have seen alerts blaring on a dashboard of any security appliance or solution, and you know, I've seen people stare at it and go blank because they don't think it's real, because you never think that you're going to be the victim. Warning, this virus has been spotted on this server and it's doing this connection. It's there, big red letters. And people will just carry on. It must be a false positive. Must be. It doesn't happen to us, you know? I think that's something that we're all guilty of. Again, we're the weakest link. And you know, you should be able to manage all of those, because it is difficult and it's time consuming. We've got the Capture Security Center. That's what it looks like, all those nice little animations. Don't worry about the spider if there's any arachnophobia, sorry about that. But what we'll do is, from a single pane of glass, from one screen, you can manage all of your SonicWall solutions. Doesn't that make life easier? Imagine having to root around with a new password or a username or an IP address and so on. There's the different solutions there. We've just added email security to it. We've also got cloud application security on there. And you can log on this now. Whether you bought anything or not, you can log on this now, and you can see the threat meters at the top. We call that risk meters now. It's a node slide. But you can log on this now and check your security posture and then manage your SonicWalls. Okay, that's what it looks like then. Bit pithy of me to include a quote. There's a debate about who actually said this, so I just deleted it. So let's pretend I made it up. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Constantly keep your eye on it. Never just assume that you've got the security in place and it's fine. It isn't. I've seen it far too often. Okay. So, you know, always keep a review of network. And I'm just going to end on this one here before we have a quick Q&A, I think. We have our threat report, which is bi-yearly now. We release it twice a year. I did this last year. Come and see us, so we can get one sent out to you. This is the SonicWall threat report that we generate with all the information that we collect as anonymous. All of our devices are anonymous sensors, and you can see all the trends that we have, because it is stuff that we should worry about. It really is. Okay, that's me done. Okay, so I mean, I've overrun. Have we got time for questions?
You have overrun a few moments, but as entertaining as always, Alex. Do we have any very quick questions for Alex from the floor? You just raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone over to you.
Deathly silence. Everyone wants their coffee.
Say again?
Unless this is not on. Is anyone asking a question? I can't hear anything.
No.
Who's got the microphone? Done. No one's there. No, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Alex. Thank you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Sorry for overrunning.